Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. We're going to do something kind of unconventional today. We are going to start, while we wait on our other two candidates, we're going to start with announcements. If anybody has an announcement in the room. Huh? First we're going to pray. You are absolutely right. Yes, we are. We're going to have Ms. Laura McCletty lead us in that prayer.
Thank you. Let's bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to be in this space today, and thank you for allowing us to share information and for us to make sure that we represent you well in every phase of whatever we do. Help us to be strong and respectful of each other and to join together and to make sure that our community is blessed in so many ways. Bless all of the leaders of our community, individually and collectively. Be with us as we go throughout this day. Bless those who are on their way here, Heavenly Father. These blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Yeah, we need to explain how the forum works.
So I was going to do that as a candidates got here in case they weren't familiar. So I was going to use I know we have a new candidate who might not be as familiar with the forum. So I was going to try to, at least while the room is somewhat familiar, allow announcements to happen if people have them. Hopefully they would kind of mosey on in and I can kind of go with the introduction and they'll have an understanding for the rules. What do you think about that?
I think that's fine.
That's fine? Okay, so we're going to start with announcements. If anybody has an announcement, which it looks like nobody does. No, you got to say it out loud because we're killing time, so I need you to really articulate this announcement. Tell us everything about it. No, go ahead, give it a mic, give it a microphone. You sure you don't want to say it? Okay. Shay, I know you got something. You have to have, well, tell us about the graveyard. I know, see, without context, it's crazy sounding. So now you have to, you're obligated.
Thank you, Winston. The graveyard is Cedar Grove Cemetery up near Bakersford, LaSalle, just in front of University Park Creative Arts School. The nonprofit I work with from One to Sun is starting to clean up there about 2 years ago, and it's really exploding. What we're finding out are the people that are interred there are the Black pioneers of Charlotte. They touched the Grace Church downtown, JCSU, and the veterans. There's several veterans there, so the Veterans Bridge Home has been a great partner in helping us get that cleaned up. But we really think it'll be a great add to the community, and we are really appreciative of any support we can get. And we invite you guys all out. SaveCedarGrove.org is where you can find out more information. My name's Shay. Winston knows how to get a hold of me if anyone needs any more information about that.
You got an email address you want to give us?
Email address is Shay, CHE, at FromOneToSome.org. That's FROMONESOME.org.
Awesome, I appreciate it. Shay, you got an announcement, Gary?
Yeah, I do.
All right, we want to get you a microphone so they can hear it via the online screen. Come on, tell them who you are.
Okay, I'm Miko Show. Okay, and we having Lifestyle is presenting their 50th block party on Saturday, September the 16th from 2 to 6 p.m. on Bakersfield Road. The address is 1100 Bakersfield Road. It's going to be September the 16th from 2 to 6 p.m. Lifestyle doing a block party. Bakersfield Road, Fort Worth.
I appreciate you, Miko. We got Gary has one as well.
He has one, and I'll come with you.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
And we can introduce the new newbies too.
Mm-hmm.
Until they get here.
Good morning. I'm going to be real quick. My name's Gary Marion. I'm a disabled vet. My unit was in the Beirut bombing, October 23rd, 1983, my birthday. We shot our own people November 14th. 1981, 29 Palms, California. That's why I have post-traumatic stress syndrome. I've always commended you on this program, this meeting. Today I regret moving to Charlotte. My neighbors have been harassing me for over 3 years. I made over 20 calls to 911. I've been assaulted on the anniversary date of the shooting in 29 Palms, California. I was subdued in my own driveway. Chief Jennings hasn't done anything. Mayor Lyles hasn't done anything. I requested meetings over and over and over again. I'm concerned about my health. Steve came to my house. Steve came to my house because he was concerned about me. Not one city official has come to my house to look after me. My neighbors are still harassing me, accusing me of sexual misconduct. I've taken people to court. I got several cases in court. Eventually, if I'm alive, I will sue the city and the mayor. They're Negro-Peons. Look it up. I'm a pro-black brother. I follow in my parents' footsteps, my ancestors' footsteps. And I'm suffering. I just made another complaint with the police department. What department is it? When police are competent. They're taking notes from my neighbors with no evidence and looking at me. There's a lot of racial bias here. Chief Putney talked about it, admitted racial bias was in the community, in CMPD, and they still have it. I judge people based on their character. People talk about who they want to be, but their actions prove who they are. I will never sell my soul. I will stand on my feet and follow my ancestors. I'm a leader. I'm a Marine. All my guys in my squad graduated. I got promoted. There's no leadership in the city. It's just people in positions that talk. Thank you.
Gary, we appreciate you sharing your vulnerabilities.
No problem, man.
You know.
That's it. Period.
Yes. I know we have a tough act to follow, right? We have a gentleman here who I believe is here for the first time. We'd like you to introduce yourself and the organization you're with, and then we're gonna mosey along into the forum.
First of all, I want to say my heart go out to you, brother. God bless for serving our community. I pray that your prayers are answered and you find the answers to the questions that you have when you get leadership.
Amen.
First of all, my name is Chris Peak. I'm a Charlotte, and I grew up on the west side of Charlotte, right in Hoskins in the Freedom Drive area. I work for Carolina Farm Trust. Our mission is to decentralize the food system, and what we mean by that is by building a regional, resilient food system. It takes all organizations working together to do that. Right now, we're in partnership with the county, providing 3 pounds of fresh vegetables to 11 different facilities. Good morning, Tiawana.
Good morning.
I just want to say it's a pleasure to be able to reach out and connect with other organizations and see how we all can partner together. It's an honor to be here.
So we'll just start out. So your first time here. Anybody else that we have here for the first time, please stand up, introduce yourself, and any affiliations that you might want to share.
Good morning, everyone. This is not my first time with the forum, but it's my first time in person because I've been following online for a couple of years. And I attended when y'all were over off the Baby Sport. My name is Tracy Montrose. I used to work for the city and now work for American Airlines. And we are very interested in District 3 because of the proximity of the airport in the district. And so I'm interested in hearing from the candidates today. Thank you for including me.
I'm sorry, I was trying to, did you say you were with?
Good morning, I'm Sandy Clory. Some of you know me, some of you don't. But I've been coming back and forth here when Sarah Stevenson was here and everything is changing. Hi, Warren.
Good to see you.
I don't get up this early. I'm a retired dance teacher. But this man, I'm here because I saw his name coming up in the forum. Then I said, God, please get me there, safely, because I'm like still half asleep. But I am so glad to see the familiar faces. Hi, Steve. Steve! Yo! Born on the same day. We have the same birthday. But I'm just glad to be here to see this happening. And I'm so sorry. My life has been so wound up and but I'll be back.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right, with that said, we're going to get started today. Today is Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Morning Forum. Good morning. My name is Winston Robinson. I am today's moderator. Along co-facilitators, Ms. Laura McClay, Carlenia Ivory Canty, Jackie Edwards Walton, Nathalie McElrath, Mary Johnson, our website editor Steve Johnston, and Ms. Sarita Sherrill, our chaplain. Our forum begins at 8:30 a.m. and it concludes at 9:45 a.m., at which time we will pause for announcements. But not today, because we put in the frame. Announcements can also be sent to sjohnston@tuesdayforumcharlotte.org. That is Johnston with a T. We've already had our prayer. We've already had people who are here for the first time introduce themselves. So today we're going to get right into introductions from our presenters who happen to be candidates for City Council District 3. We have Mr. Warren Turner, and we also have Ms. Tiawana Brown. We have one more who might come in shortly, or might not. Melinda Melinda Lilly. So following their presentations, we will take questions from the audience. Please raise your hand, and we will add your name to the list. I will call on you for your question in the order in which your name was recorded. Questions should be no longer than 30 seconds. This is not a debate. This is not a back and forth. Once you receive an answer to your question, that's it. So right now, we'd like to pause and take a moment for silence. No, for silence. Silence your phone. Put your phones on vibrate. Turn them off. Whatever you got to do. Don't be the one. All right. Thank you, everybody. Make sure. All right, with that said, we will begin with an introduction from Mr.
And we have a timekeeper.
Oh, yes, we do have a timekeeper, Ms. Nathalie McElrath, who will make sure those questions and answers are in the time they need to be. When we get to kind of a point where we have a lot of questions and not a lot of time, we will ask you to reduce your answers to a minute apiece. All right, but questions should still be no longer than 30 seconds. Thank you, Ms. Nathalie. All right, so please, Mr. Warren Turner, begin with your introduction. Tell us about yourself.
Good morning. It is a great honor to be here. I have a long history with this organization, and Stevenson and I were dear friends. My name is Warren Turner. I've lived in the Steer Creek area for over 50 years. I attended Sterling Elementary School, which is in Pineville, and J. Mason Smith off of Tavola, and I'm a graduate of Olympic High School. I retired from North Carolina Department of Public Safety as a Chief Probation Officer. I've been in the City Council. I've served you all for 8 years between the year 2003 and 2011. I'm running again because our city is in trouble, and we need leadership, and we need someone to speak up on the very important issues of public safety, transportation. Those things are important to all of us, and our economic growth and housing. So that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Tiawana Brown, born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was born in poverty, raised by my single mama, Artie M. Brown. She's a prominent part of my life and everything that I do. I am the mother of 2 beautiful daughters, Antoinette and Tajima. Antoinette is very successful. She lives in Atlanta. She's 31 years old. Tajima is my baby girl. She's 29. She was born and raised in federal prison. Thank God for my mother that she paved the way for me and took my children, or they would have been in the system. I came home, had to check the box and return. I am running because there has never been leadership like me. Driven, motivated, the voice for the people, the ear on the ground, constituent of policy. You don't get to hear that side of me because I don't talk about it. People talk about experience. Have you ever applied for a job and they told you you had too much experience?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes less is better. So when you get to know me, you're gonna know that I'm the candidate of choice. I love Charlotte, born and raised in District 3 entirely. Started with poverty, moved into Middle Growth, and now live in Steel Creek. Graduated from Miles Park High School, snatched out of John C. Smith University, now back with a 4.0, studying criminal justice. It is not about what you know, but it's about what you do. Thank you.
Thank you both. We will now open the floor for questions if someone has them. Mr. Gary Mary.
I don't need it. I did radio.
No. We, for the online streaming audience, the mics don't pick up well.
All right. The gentleman here heard my statement when I first came in. You came in shortly thereafter. In your position, if a resident, regardless of their nationality or color, in a community, in your district, had over 20 phone calls to 911, was threatened and harassed for over 3 years, how long would it take for you to do something in that community? Because nobody has done nothing in mine as of yet. I put over $80,000 in my home. I got people around me look like me that are just jealous. What would you do if I sent you all the information I had with 20 phone calls to 911?
20 phone calls to 911 harassing you, or are you asking for protection?
I've had no contact orders. I won a civil claim. The person was was found guilty of causing severe mental anguish. I suffer from PTSD. I'm on 4 more medications than when I came here to North Carolina. I'm not safe in my home.
Where do you live?
West Craighead Road, 812.
We need to just do it as
812 West
a
Craighead
generic
Road.
question.
So
If someone-
for me, if I was in position at the city council and you reached out to me, I'm very responsive. I'm very responsible to everybody's needs. Doesn't matter what you look like. Everybody's issue is very important to me. Public and safety is very important to me. There should be a committee for public and safety. You should be able to reach out to someone to help you with that. Have you reached out to someone?
I did radio. I worked at TV.
Okay, so my general question
No one
to you
has.
is,
No one has responded.
my response is that I'm very responsive. I wasn't aware of that. So anything that I hear and is brought for me, I'm going to be responding to it.
Okay, thank you.
You want to take a stab at that?
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Gary, I'm sorry that's happening to you. My first step would be to speak with you, get the information and get the facts. My next step is that I take it to the chief of police to find out exactly what it is that they're doing or not doing that and how to address your matter. That's the first step. And if there's a legal matter beyond their capability, they will advise you that. And if it's not, then we'll deal with it as we should. That's exactly how it should be done.
Thank you.
My question is to the both of you. Share with us what significant changes that you can make in District 3 and in the city of Charlotte. What is your platform? What are your goals? What would you like to see changed in our community, particularly in District 3?
Thank you so much for that question. I think the entire city is looking for change. And change starts with doing something different. You have a committee and a leadership of effective leaders that all look like you and I, but there's so much going on in the city, with the city being the largest city, Charlotte being the 15th largest growing city, and 113 people moving here daily. We have to have a leadership that's responsive, that's effective, and that's willing to get out and be the liaison between the people and the leadership. The city is in turmoil right now. There is a 2040 comprehensive plan that's out there. There's also the UDO that's out there. That's a living document for our citizens to be a part of. It was created so that you can express your concerns. For me, I'm running because I am the difference. I have a plan in District 3 to have town halls for our people. People say they have town halls, but people don't hear about it. So you have to make sure that the people that we're talking about is at the table, because they're going to be the ones with the solutions, and that's going to be driven to make the change that we have in our community. People like yourself, the constituents that's going and voting and expressing your concern about the things that are going on in our city, the crime rate, the traffic. When you commute from downtown Charlotte to Steel Creek, it takes me almost 30 minutes to get home. And then with all the growth and expansion that's going up, it's going to continue to happen. I was in a very, very diverse and informed meeting yesterday with developers, with community leaders, with stakeholders. It's going to take everybody sitting at the table and voicing their opinions. The one thing that we got to remember that we have to be transparent and accountable. It doesn't matter what plan you put out there for the community to see. If we're not accountable, if we're not transparent, if we're not delivering it in an honest way, in a way that our people can understand the language and the metrics of that plan, we're going to fail. What I've been hearing from the community is that we're failing our community. And the only way that is going to change is if our constituents, if the people that are concerned, go to the polls and select something different. The same old same is insanity. If you're going to continue to do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. That's my answer, and that's my honest answer from my heart.
Bingo. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, first of all, there are many issues, but the first one I want to start with is the public safety matter. It's a public safety matter. No matter where you live in this city, and it hurts because no one's really talking about it, and we're definitely not doing anything about it. Our murder rate is unacceptable. The crime that's going on in our city is a threat to everything that you see today economically. No one wants to live in a place where they can feel safe or be safe. And the perception of reality of it is this. The data does not lie. The crime statistics does not lie. So what we have to do is engage our community and engage our leaders. That must be a priority. Because if I have a business in this city and the crime rate gets so bad, eventually these people leave. Corporate companies moved here because Charlotte once was known as a very beautiful, great tree canopy, clean and safe city, and affordable. And when you have crime, it affects all of those things. It affects affordability. It affects jobs, opportunity. It affects where you live. Because if people leave and vacate our communities, they also take those jobs with them. They take that tax base with them. So we have to first address the things that threaten the quality of our life, and that is public safety. Thank you.
So, Miko, so you get one response.
No problem.
All right, Miko.
Okay, Tiawana, I want to thank you as a resident in District 3. I appreciate you being transparent about your past. Now, my question is to Warren. You mentioned safety, but let's talk about transparency. There is issue with allegations that came out that Joe Bruno asked you about, and us in District 3, we're concerned with your previous record as it relates to sexual harassment, workplace sexual harassment. So my question to you is, you didn't answer with Joe Bruno, and you wasn't transparent. So you're asking the people in District 3 to stand behind you and give you an opportunity, a chance to come back, but you haven't addressed the workplace sexual harassment, even with you being you tried to go to the police academy, got kicked out, and some other things. So what is your take on sexual harassment, and why should we give you a chance? I mean, with that, if you make your co-workers feel uncomfortable.
Well, first of all, Joe Bruno in that story is a lie. It was a lie then, and it's a lie now. I was not found guilty of any such thing, no sexual harassment. So when you take a story and you twist it, and that's what has happened. But if you have no experience in politics, there is a direct organization, and you know that, that's why you asked this question, that targeted me for a particular purpose. And that's politics. But where it steps over the boundaries, that's painful and that's very hurtful. If there's anybody that have ever been accused of anything or lied on, well, look at me. That's who I am. And I'm not gonna get into it because I sued the state for intervening in something based on the news, based on lies and rumors, and they lost, okay? I gave the state 30 years of my life. I've given this city all of my life. I lived in the city of Charlotte all my life. I lived and grew up in Steer Creek over 50 years. Everything about me, my family, it hurt my friends, it hurt my parents, and it hurt people that care about me and that know me. So I don't have to defend that lie. I'm a Christian. I stand on my faith, who has brought me to this point. So we can talk about an illegal email that went out at 1 o'clock in the morning. We can talk about people that threw rocks but hid their hands. But that case is sealed and closed. I won't discuss the legality of my settlements with the state, you, and no one else, because I can't. That's past us. I want you to look at the future and what I accomplished when I was the city councilor. It has nothing to do with an allegation. People lie all the time.
Right.
And if you really understand the parameters of sexual harassment, it could be anything, anything. So get the facts, know the facts, and the facts are they were a lie then and they're a lie now. And that's behind me. And I won't let you or anyone else pull me back into that nonsense.
Amen.
I don't know if it's.
No, Miko, you don't been here before. Come on now, Miko. No back and forth. She gave you an answer. You can raise your hand again. Well, you got your answer.
Okay, thank you both for being here today. My question is about crime in Charlotte. I'm concerned about this gun violence that we have. And I know that we talk about gun violence, but what can we really do about it? Because we don't have any control over these kids getting guns. We know about it after it happens. So what is it that we can really do about gun violence in Charlotte?
Is your question to both candidates? You want to take a stab at it first, Ms. Brown?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your question. It's always important for us to know who we live around. We have to also be engaged, being involved with the chief of police, being involved with the sheriff, having a community of people like Pure Balance and bringing them to the table. Those are individuals that were selected to be in the community. When you talk about gun violence, we had 3 incidents that happened yesterday. So it's happening all over the world. You have to be in the community and engaged in the community to have a solution for the crime. Guns are hurting us everywhere. Violence is all over the world, and you see it every day. We have members in this audience that have been victims of gun violence. It's very near and dear to my heart. My little cousin was killed by a gun. I'm a Black woman. We're targeted. So when you talk about gun violence and safety, it's very near and dear. But we have to go back to the drawing board. And when you talk about being in West Boulevard, you talk about being in Steel Creek, no one is invincible. You have to make sure that the people that we're targeting, that we bring them in the room. Let's talk about being on the corner of West Boulevard and being able to walk up to individuals on the corner and asking them to put their guns down. I'm a different type of candidate. I can do that. But I also can hold a meeting in the boardroom. When you talk about transparency in our police department, there's questions there. Being close to the ones that are most affected, I am. But we have to bring them in the room. We can't disregard them because they don't look like us, because they don't make a certain amount of money, because they don't live in a certain type of neighborhood. Try walking up to West Boulevard the 1500 block of West Boulevard and ask those young men to put their guns down. But when you do, what are you gonna put in their hands? Workforce development. Developing something on that corner where they can pay for their children's food so they don't have to rob and steal and kill. That's my solution. Bring them in the room.
Thank you so much. Before we go to the next question, Ms. Tiawana, I said this before you got to the room, we gotta keep answers to a minute.
Okay, no problem.
I appreciate you.
No problem.
All right, we have a question from the.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
thank you.
That's what happens.
Let me say, let me, let me say this. When I became the city councilman for District 3, we had the highest crime rate in the city. We had the highest unemployment rate in this city. And in my tenure of being the chairman of public safety, not only did I attack it aggressively, but every year, if you look at that data, you will see where our crime rate went down. Not only in the District 3, but for the city of Charlotte. And that's how I was able to revitalize that district. You have to address it head on. You cannot sweep it under the rug. And that has many movement parts. And then you have to work with the city staff. So what we did, Darrell Stevenson at the time was our chief, we took community policing and then we took an initiative of aggressive. Community policing was putting us back in the community, making sure that we were getting the information and hearing the concerns of those that lived where these problems were. So the other part of that today is a different scenario. We have to address our drug problem. Our drug problem breeds the crime. And we have to get our hands around this, ladies and gentlemen. And there's many ways to do that. I can't get into all of my philosophy in regards to that. What I will do is like to sit down and have that conversation and see what initiatives have our chief put in line to address those matters. That's what we have to do. We have to address this head on. We can't keep sweeping it under the rug.
Thank you. We have the gentleman here, then we have Chris, then we have Mr. Marion.
First of all, thank you both for being here. And like Tiawana Brown, we grew up together. I get exactly what she's saying. What she's saying is facts. The life from Myers Park, we attended Johnson C. Smith. What you see is what you get. Being able to go on West Boulevard, I feel the same exact way. Being able to go into those boardrooms. What I want to ask you is, sir, that the first thing that you're saying is about crime. That's first what you want to address. And you're talking about data, you're talking about facts. But my question to you is, what's causing those crimes? Are you willing to go out into the community and really talk to the individuals? That's my question.
Absolutely. I did that, and I still do it. Been doing it. Nothing has changed. Just because I'm not on council. If you speak to the people, I get calls all the time. Nothing has changed about the way I see it, that our young people need leadership. You need to talk to them. They need love. But going in the community where the crime is, it's not a one individual responsibility. We all have a responsibility, and we have to take responsibility for our children's actions. So I did that, and that's not a problem still. When someone called me with a problem, I didn't pass it on to staff. Staff passed it to me, and I went to them. That you have to get to the root of the problem. And I said earlier, we have to address our drug problem. We have an addiction, not just in Charlotte, but across this country. But our responsibility starts here. We have an addiction problem in our society, and we have to address that as well.
All right, Chris, then Mr. Marion.
Good morning. Crime again. So the root of the problem a lot of times is caused by no opportunity and poverty. Jobs are not, like politicians have been saying that for 50 years. It seems like that's not the answer because it's so small. Like you can't have a living in Charlotte off of jobs. Are you guys willing to be open to new ideas from the youth
not always leading the youth, but they have great ideas, and they want opportunities other than jobs.
Absolutely. One of the things that I was involved in at my church, I had the opportunity, I called in the ministers, staff, and pastors across this city. I invited them to come and let's talk about these matters. I invited the teachers, the educators, because they deal with it directly, away from the residents, to hear the voices of our youth. And then I met with the youth, and you're absolutely right. It is imperative that they have a seat at the table, because we need to hear exactly what's bothering them and what they desire, what they expect from us, and as a community, whether it be government or whether it be their local store owner. We need to know that. So you're absolutely right in that perspective of bringing everybody to the table. But I think we also need to pay attention to what our teachers are saying, because they deal with it day in and day out, and they don't have a voice. Instead of us attacking them and not being there for them, we need to be there. We need to be there for them. We need to have an expectation from them as well as from our children. So yes, providing the opportunities for them. The mayor has a mayor program for youth. It doesn't affect and doesn't reach out to everyone. So that's where we have to engage our leaders and our business owners to provide those opportunities, whether it be through summer opportunity jobs or full-time or part-time jobs. Everybody must be engaged to say, we're going to be part of that wheel. We're going to be part of that wheel that makes it turn. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. You must be a parent, near and dear to my heart. It's important to work with grassroots organizations and to be on the ground, involved, dedicated, working with the children, youth organizations like SAVE, like my organization, Beauty After Bars, in partnership with the school, in partnership with the teachers, seeing it firsthand. You have some parents that can't even come to school. $7, $8 an hour. They can't attend PTSA meetings. We have to be driven. We have to be willing to do something that we never did before to get different results. And when we sit on city council and say that it's not one person to do it, it starts with one person. One person can start a revolution, can start a dedicated, committed change. What we're looking for in our community. And at the end of the day, if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I'm part of the solution. I always have been. For the last 20 years, I've been dedicated to the churches, our faith-based organizations. They can't do it by themselves. The schools can't do it by themselves. I understand single parents that can't make it to PTSA meetings. I understand students that are acting out because of mental health. I understand the trauma that's in the home.
Ms. Mary. Thanks. Media is the most effective devil in America. I grew up in a two-parent household. Boy Scout, Marine, got promoted in boot camp.
You only have 30 seconds.
Okay, it all starts at the home. You heard what I've been going through over the last 3 years. I have said nothing and done nothing. You won't catch no video or audio of me doing anything, saying anything. I honor my parents.
What's your question?
Every day. It starts in the home. Am I correct? Yes. Everyone wants everybody else to take care of the problem. Starts at home.
What's your question?
All this stuff you're talking about starts at home. And I'm asking them, do you agree? They want you to take care of gun problems. It starts at home in the decision making. That's my question. Does it start at home?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sometimes it starts at home. But if a child is in a broken home, what do we do about that? We can't always place it on the home. We just can't. Perfect example, I'm gonna use my own story. My mother was phenomenal. I made bad choices. The environment, I became a product of 282028.
Go ahead, Gary. All right. What are innovative ideas that you have to solve housing issues? And I apologize if this is redundant. and to connect District 3 to the rest of the city to enhance economic gain for your constituents. So innovative ideas for soft housing and how to connect District 3 to the rest of the city because Charlotte is economically segregated.
Innovative.
I already know who's going to.
Go ahead, Mr. Turner.
Okay. Well, I would need to have more discussion about when you say innovative and the housing situations connected to the rest of the city from District 3. What I will say to you, if I think what I'm getting out of that question is, there is obviously a serious crisis in the single-family housing supply. And there's also a very serious problem with affordability of that house. Whether you live in an apartment or single-family housing, we have seen that cost of living skyrocket. I've never seen anything like it in our city, never thought it would be this way. So first thing that I believe that the subsidies, that whether it be the county or the city, what makes it work, if you're talking about affordable housing and some balance of the housing, we have to have purchased land. If the city owns the land, then it's easier and makes better sense economically for me then to find developers that can come in and develop that property for affordable housing. But because of the land cost today in our county, it is almost pushing that out as a dream. It is almost impossible. So it's the same way that the county set aside initiatives to purchase land and reserve land for our future parks and future schools. The city has to start doing that as well. So we may be way behind that 8 ball in trying to find available land to do that. But that's when we start talking about private-public partnerships. And I don't think we're doing a great job at it. I know they poured a lot of money this year, $50 million, but that's not new. If you go back and look at our history, we've given a lot of money towards those things, but we still have not accomplished our goals.
Thank you so much for your question to us. You said Gary is your name? Yes. Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate that. Sometimes we have to go back to the basics. You know, they took economics out of school, where our children learn about financial literacy, how to become business owners. Sometimes college is not the answer. There's a lot of debt for our children. When you talk about how can we come up with innovative ideas, we need a lot of innovative ideas to come forward. I think when we talk about contracting, going back into the schools, teaching our children about financial literacy, teaching them how to have longevity with finance. Some of our kids don't even know how to write a check. Those things were taught in school. That's the basic things that we have to do. When you talk about insurance policies, you can get that, and that is financial freedom for families, where it costs 30 cents a day for children 18 and under to get insurance policies to cover their life. That's how a lot of people come up. You know, we don't talk an age limit on safety and when people are going to leave this world, because we know we're all going to exit. But if you got an insurance policy for $1 million, think about what they can do with family. Teach about home ownership, not renting. Renting is digging a hole for us. And although it's very expensive, if we teach about home ownership and how we can become homeowners, that's going to be one of the ways that we can get back to making sure that we connect anyone with any community all over the world. And to me, a city that is racial equity and racial equal is for everybody to be able to own a home all over the city, wherever they want to live. It doesn't matter what zip code it is. That's what I would say.
All right, we have Jackie, Miss Mary, then Tina, then Blanche.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning. The new special assistant to the manager, she came around workforce development. She came out of Charlotte Works, and she's worked with them for a long time. And my question is around the program that the city had for those 18 to 24-year-olds paid to attend Central Piedmont. What will you do to push those kinds of programs along and to have accountability? Because sometimes we don't feel that we have the accountability with Charlotte Works and what it is they were supposed to be doing for the city of Charlotte.
Anybody?
That's an excellent question, ma'am, and thank you for it. One of the things that is extremely important, whether you serve or on the budget committee as an elected official, I'm not for sure how they do it anymore. I know the mayor used to oversee what committees you were assigned to, and if that's still the process. But they must provide a funding source. They must provide a stronger funding source in order for it to be more effective and reach more people. So you can have a great idea, and you're absolutely right. Charlotte Works is a great program. I personally think it needs more funding and more corporate companies involved in the process.
Thank you so much for your question. Anytime you're talking about employing our youth, ages 18 to 24, they are our future, and we have to make sure that we are pouring into them financially. The city has a budget of $3.5 billion, oversee 9,000 employees. I'm not sure where that fits in. I don't know. I know that being on city council is very complex. There's a lot of moving parts to that. We have to get back to funding through grassroots organizations that are already doing the work, that are already reaching these youth, that are volunteering in the community. I go back to saying grassroots organizations like Freedom Fighting Ministries, SAVE, Beauty After Bars, Beautiful Black Girls, Heal Charlotte. You gotta know what it takes to make sure that our youth are equipped with success. And the only way you're gonna do that is to be a part of the solution. I'm a part of the solution and have been for quite some time now. That program is phenomenal when you can take a child out of high school and put them into vocational training and then let them use their talents that they were born with, their God-given talents, and let them lead our community. I take my life experience and I have homes for women coming home from incarceration. I meet them right where they at. Sometimes it takes just meeting people right where they at. That's what we got to get back to doing. Thank you for your question.
All right, we have Tina, then we have me, I'm gonna ask a question, then we have Shay, Chris, and Miko.
I'm not sure whether this is a city issue or not, but how about the light rail going to the airport? Is that ever gonna happen?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I work for American Airlines. Let me just go ahead and say no. It's too complex, it's too complicated, and transparency, if folks start telling you that, we also have Tracy in the building, they're gonna be lying to you. I like to see it happen.
Well, that's our future vision of the mobility plan. In fact, I see it happening. I can vision and see the 5 corridors meeting up over in our future time. But their greatest challenge is going to be a funding source as we prioritize how we move people about in our city and across the other counties that are adjacent to the city of Charlotte. Now, what priority, which lane they decide to do first, that is based on economics and funding. But I do see that as something that's feasible and that I do believe that it will happen.
We'll all be dead in our grave. I'm just
I
gonna
have
be
a
real.
question. So,
We don't do that.
I know, I'm just saying.
right now, we have right now, so I grew up, well, right now I live in McCrory Heights along the Bakersford corridor. However, I grew up in a very different Wilmore than what exists now. And in that, I was considered a West Boulevard kid. The epicenter of that area for blackness was the 1500 block of West Boulevard. And while I know what deprivation is for a community now that I live on Bakersford, living on West Boulevard is significantly worse. There are areas of like communities like Amy James, if you go deep enough, it still feels like 1940. And I wanted to know, what could you do to add a beacon of hope or just viability to communities along the West Boulevard corridor that would not result in their displacement?
All right, thank you. Spent a lot of time, a lot of hours in that corridor before I was on council, since I've been on council, and even now. And you're absolutely right. And it's not to degrade or insult that circumstance and situation, but the facts are the facts. There's still housing there that was built when it was built in the 40s and the 50s. And when the city of Charlotte had acquired housing over there for taxes, and they didn't pay the taxes, and we ended up taking the properties over the years, did not realize how many lots that the city of Charlotte actually owned in the Amy James and Reed Park community. So what we did, I asked Pam Cipher to join in with me to relinquish those properties to Habitat Humanity. They built on a lot of those properties. They built on those properties, and it's crucial that we get an infusion of finances to help the seniors that live in the older homes to bring their houses up to standard, and we can do that with a zero tax interest loans.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, I own property in West Boulevard. I am West Boulevard. My whole family lives from Remount Road down to Amy James. And I drive there every single day. And then I make a right at the 1500 block. And then the first street I take is Cowers Road. It's my matriarch's home. We have to get into our communities and save our community. It's going to take us. And the way we do that is to preserve their home, help them keep their homes in the community, like we did with my grandmother's home. You get letters every day telling you $200,000, $80,000. That sounds like a lot of money when you got $10 in the bank. But when you can help them preserve that property, restore that property, habitat that property, and keep it in the family, that's how we're going to do it. You're going to do it by going in the community, letting them know that we care about them. And the only way you can do that is to be in the community. I'm there every day, listening to them, knocking on doors, asking for their vote, asking them, what does it take? What does it take to get real change in the city council? So I understand you, and I feel you because I am a product of Amy James and Reed Park.
Thank you so much. Now we have Shay, and then we have Chris. Then we have, Shay, Blanche, Chris.
Shay, okay.
So my question's about the sort of the power of nonprofits, power of nonprofits. I'm running a nonprofit. There are so many out there that are trying so hard to do the things that you guys are talking about, and funding is always a significant issue. Is there a way to address that where these, we're pretty new on the block, we're pretty small, and finding funding for anything. We feed kids, and we can't get $1 to support us. What do you see as an opportunity in your position, should you be elected, to empower that community to support all these goals we're talking about here?
I'll just go ahead and go first with that. It's near and dear to my heart. I'm a nonprofit founder, and I'm a grassroots individual. There is money now. City Council is looking at allocate millions to grassroots organizations, and you can get in on that. There is money for you in that $3.5 million budget. What we have to do is allocate more, because grassroots efforts and small nonprofits like you make a significant difference in our community every day. I like to see more money allocated to nonprofit and small grassroots organizations. So that's a very good question. I would suggest reaching out to the City Council now. They are looking at where they're going to allocate that funding. Even though that it's already been dispersed to where it's going to go, you can get on the next round, and they're giving out a lot of money. So I'm glad you asked that question, because that came through my email this morning, and they're giving out millions. So you can get on that, and I definitely can guide you in the right steps on how you can do that. But very good question, and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for your question.
that I'm directly aware of is that I think even with the money's there, it doesn't matter if the money's there if you can't get it. So the first thing we have to do is create a hub where that we are helping nonprofit organizations and others to make sure that they meet the requirements and the qualifications to get the money. Because oftentimes, the small businesses, small groups like that find out about such programs, and then they apply for it, they get denied simply based on they didn't meet the requirements, something's missing that they need to have. So just basically providing that kind of a communication to those individuals that are nonprofit, that are seeking to help us and assist us, and we want them to have access to the money. So in order to do that, we must better educate them so that they know exactly how to get it and make sure that they are qualified. Thank you.
All right, let me say this before you go, Ms. Penn. Ms. McElrath, we're at the 9:30 mark, so we're gonna please ask you to keep questions and answers to 30 seconds. Thank you.
I can do this in 30-second answers.
I can do
1
this
minute.
in
1 minute now?
Yeah.
We got a lot of questions.
I know, we can't do 30
All right.
seconds.
If you can,
Okay.
Short as possible,
short as possible.
but no more than a minute.
Real quickly, last night I heard about the airport workers. I really want to know, because they talk about water. Now, I talk about housing all the time. Now, here it is, last night when I heard those airport workers talking about they couldn't even get water and all the things that's going on in their airport and everything, and it came to the city council. So if you were on that seat, what would you say about that, and how would you go about helping them? Or is there some help for them? That's my next project. That's my question.
Anybody want to take a stab at it?
It would be unfair for me to answer them, airport workers, so I'm interested in what they're gonna do for us.
I'm not aware of you said something in regards to that they were saying that they can't get water at the airport. Can she clarify that? I'm sorry.
They were saying that their break rooms and stuff is hot. They only can, and I guess it'd be like us, we can't take water in when we go in. I'm not sure if they can take water. They get them 1 thing of water to drink, and then some of them be fighting and carrying on and stuff. It was terrible to hear them last night, and they were on the waiting list to be heard. Thank God a lot of people didn't show up, so we were able to be heard. And when I heard that, it bothered me because of that. So as a council member, what would you do to help them in order to get what they need in that particular facility? Now, it looks good when you're walking in, but if they're not treating their employees well, then that's a problem for me. Same thing with custodians and bus drivers.
So I hope last night that the council heard their cry and that they're gonna look into those matters to try to resolve it. By me not having the clear understanding and knowledge of what really is going on out there, I would simply say this, that you cannot ignore it, and that is their responsibility. The airport is under our responsibility. So I hope that our city manager be engaged in that process to find out exactly what's going on, and we rectify that.
Ms. Brown, even though could you not answer that question now?
I'll be more than happy. Dr. Blanche, with all due respect, thank you for that phenomenal question. I was trying to recuse myself because I'm in an active role, but there are a lot of concerns from my colleagues around what our treatment and our conditions need to be. Since I am in their shoes, of course I'm going to be an advocate to make sure that it's at the forefront of the city council and that we get solutions. If people hear their cries, then why their cries are not being answered? So putting me in that seat, I'm going to advocate and make sure that we get results for them.
All right, Chris.
And it's all right if you don't know, say, I don't know. This table, how do you get the information out to the people that's usually disenfranchised, that's not included in these table meetings? How are they informed?
It's all right.
Well, to get the information out from a city platform, we have multiple ways to do that. Some of it is through emails, some of it is through broadband, other sources of our public social media, but more importantly, what I always thought was more effective is when we brought the city to the community. And I used to have and bring staff with me to address those concerns and allow you to come and tell us what's going on in your neighborhood. So I had town hall meetings throughout my district, no matter where it was. I took the city staff, and that included the city manager, to go meet, and we addressed those issues directly. So you're not avoiding it. You know, when I came on council, first thing Ms. Seifert told me is that she had never been invited by an elected official to come to the community. And I think it's extremely important that the citizens don't be misled. Yes, we have a responsibility to our constituent base, but at the same time, the people that really run the city wears those titles. And we work as a team. So I thought it's cool for people not to know and never met their city manager.
Thank you so much for your question. I'm one of those people that was disenfranchised and wasn't always invited in the room. I have a unique story, and so I knock on doors. I ask people, do they want to be a part of the meeting? You have to do something different if you want different results. And the same thing, executing emails, yes, that some things are standard policy, but to me, it's to be engaged, it's to be grassroots, boots on the ground. I'm not going to change. That's something that's in my heart. I'm 52 years old. I would ask you, what would you like to see us do? And knocking on doors and gathering community and bringing them together is what I would do and what I'm going to continue to do.
Okay, now going back to you, yeah, you're right, media is, they can do what they do. But as it comes back to transparency, how important is it to be transparent? This question is for you and Warren. So going back to his, he had his little spiel, I couldn't do a comeback. But, we know media do have their own little spin with a lot of different narratives on things. But transparency is important as a person that's a registered voter that's living in a district. If there's an NDA and it's something you cannot disclose, if you can't, then, just say that we get that, we understand. But we need transparency. So how important is it to be transparent from your standpoint? Then I want to see what Warren has to say.
I've always built my platform off of being transparent. I wasn't always proud of what I did and where I came from, but for me, it has taken me from West Boulevard to the White House. And that is writing my own story and telling people what I want them to know. What I know and being transparent, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. That includes the media. That includes mainstream media. That includes your neighbors. And that includes anybody around you. You're never going to be able to tell my story. I'm going to tell it. It's mine, it's my power, and I owned it. I stand in my truth. Transparency is what you're going to get with me.
Okay, thank you. Warren?
Now we have, I'm sorry.
I've already addressed that question. Thank you.
About transparency.
All right, Cedric.
Wait a minute. She said,
how important transparency is? That was the question.
well, transparency is how you see it. The truth is the truth, and a lie is a lie. So we should always communicate and give the facts. And when the facts are said, it's up to you to accept them or not.
You can hear me.
Now we need you to put the online streaming. Just slide it to the left.
Okay. So my question is to both of you. I get a lot of calls from city workers, primarily women, who are being harassed, who are being physically assaulted on the city buses and stuff. And when they report this stuff, they're being victimized. So my question would be, how would you, on the city council, better protect our city workers and protect them from reprisal and retaliation when they report the things that are being done to them from their supervisors?
I tell you what, this is what we're going to do. Ms. Brown, you'll take the first question, and now we're going to all alternate. After every question, it'll be Mr. Turner, then Ms. Brown, Mr. Turner, so we just alternate.
Okay, no
Whoever
problem.
First.
Okay, so thank you so much for that question. It's very important for us to be accountable and transparent. As we represent the city as a whole, I know that there's policies in place to prevent that from happening. You have to be an advocate for the people who you represent. So with me, it's gonna always be transparency, being accountable, and making sure that they're protected and no retaliation. If someone comes to me with something that they wanna report, I'm gonna report it. We work for the people. We are elected for the people, by the people. And so in order for us to move forward and walk in sync, we have to make sure that we're doing the best thing for the city and for the body of people. So transparency is what you're gonna get. I'm gonna protect them by the mode of the policy that we have in place for city council.
All right. First of all, any complaints that an employee files should go through HR. And if they're not getting what they deserve, I feel like their response or their complaint has not been properly addressed. And if they come to the city council or contact council members, absolutely, we should make sure and find out, like we do any other complaint or concern that any other citizen has, why that has not been addressed, and if it has, where is it? But we have to also remember, there are certain laws that prevent city council and the public from having and being involved in HIPAA laws. They're protected. So there's only so much we can do when it's HR and it's employee staff matters, but we can be a voice to make sure that it's been addressed.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, my question is, I don't know, I'm 75 years old, I came through segregation and immigration. I want to know where is the black community in Charlotte, besides the west side, because I remember it used to be 3rd Ward, 3rd Ward, 2nd Ward, and all these communities have been confiscated by the city. And I want to know, where are the black people? Where are the black people in these communities?
Shelby.
That is a very good question. My mom went to 2nd Ward, and my family. That is a very good question. My mom went to 2nd Ward, and Robert F. Kennedy. So you remember those names, right? The black community is here. People are trying to smother us and cover us, and we can't allow that to happen. So when you get in a position like city council, you have to reach out and elevate and make sure that they're heard and that they're seen. Yeah, gentrification has happened, but I spoke earlier about home ownership, owning your property, making sure that you can stay where you want to stay, live in any zip code. We have to get back to that. So I understand how you feel. It looks like that we don't exist, but we do exist. And so you got to continue to come out. I understand that. I understand your frustration.
I think where
All right, Mr. Turner.
Your question is, you said, where are we living? I think the center city Charlotte has changed, and we've seen the change. We have skyrise, we have all types of housing. Our young people have gravitated to those that can afford to live uptown. That's the environment that they enjoy. Our seniors is who my greatest concern is about affordability and where they're living. When we started building density and infilling, building new structures in our communities, whether it be duplexes, whether it be multifamily or additional single family. We're there, but oftentimes we're not, because we are selling our properties and we can't afford them. I think the first thing we have to do is come up with a better tax base to determine, same as the Homestead Act through the county. The city must start looking at how do we keep our seniors in their communities, where someone built a $500,000 house beside your little boogaloo, and then at the end of the day, that we're telling you your house is worth $400,000 and expect you to pay taxes on a fixed income. We have to address those matters.
Let me say.
Thank you. Okay. I just want to address the accusations that are being made in people's past, their present, and their future. Well, as black and brown people, we've always been shamed and blamed and accused on iniquities and past and, as I said, past and at present. But anyway, I'm asking, how important, what's more important, or is both important? Transparency or experience? And I say experience is very important if you want my vote.
Okay, who's gonna answer?
All right, again, we're on that alternating, so whoever took the last question first.
I did.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, but at the end of the day, my experience serving the citizens of Charlotte and District 3 speaks for itself and the accomplishments that we were able to accomplish. And I give that to God on all seriousness. I give it to God. I see someone in this room, Derek. When Derek came to Charlotte, he was on the street beat food. And he also, I took into our communities. One of the things I did differently than anybody else, and you have to be creative, I went and got the cameras. I went and got the city council. And I drove them. A lot of people don't know this. I put them on a CATS bus and drove them throughout the west side in District 3. Because you'll be surprised how many people were serving our city, but had never, ever gone to that side of town unless they were on their way to the airport. But it made a difference because it opened their eyes to the very things in which we saw that was needed. So I say leadership and transparency.
And experience.
And experience.
Thank you so much for your question. I can't see you. I like to look at people when I'm answering a question. I know you said you were here for Warren Turner, but if I prevail, you're going to be here for me. I'm going to be your district rep. So I just want to make that clear. Leadership and experience is very clear, but I'm going to always be transparent. You can learn anything. When you started as a kid in school, you have to learn how to walk. You have to learn how to talk. You can learn anything. So I've made my way from being transparent, like I said, from West Boulevard to the White House, writing policy. I was handcuffed and shackled when I had my baby, and I wrote ban the box. That's how transparent I am. No more handcuffing and shackling, so women don't have to experience that. That's how transparent I am. So you're gonna always get that. So you can bring experience. When there's a 13-year gap, explain it.
All right, we have April.
I'm gonna do a quick comment and then I ask my question. I was with the workers at the airport because they reached out to the churches, the social justice ministries of the UNVA churches, to go alongside with them when they went to talk to their employers about what they're dealing with. And the employers told them, don't. I'm gonna ask the question. Hold up. I'm gonna ask the question that they need to pick up the trash before they leave out. So my question is, how much effort are you actually putting in to make sure that you have a presence as a upcoming elected official? How much presence are you gonna put in? And then let's say if you don't get the outcome that you're hoping to get, that will you still advocate for the people? That's my question.
I think I'm next, right? Am I right?
I believe it's Mr. Turner. Then you answer the first one?
He did.
Okay. All right.
It's my turn. Thank you so much, April, for that question. You and I work together in the community, so you know that I lost last year in a very close race. I'm back. I never gave up.
But can we keep the chatter down to a minimum, please? Respect. All right, go ahead.
Thank you so much, April, for your question. I lost last year in a very close race against Dr. Victoria Watlington. I knocked on doors. I asked people for their vote. I'm back again doing the same thing. I'm never going to go away. So if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. And that's what you see.
The gospel of a leader. Mr. Turner.
Could you repeat that question, your question part?
Oh Lord, I've been working.
How will you advocate for community if you don't win?
Will you still advocate for the community, just like the way the workers from the airport? Even if you you don't
Okay,
get the
we
results
got
that
you.
you
We got
want,
Thank
will you still advocate for the community?
Thank you. I have never not advocated for the community.
Right.
I've been doing that for a long time, since middle school. I've helped people get elected that go all the way back, and I stand on their shoulders. I've been doing it since I left city council, and that's not gonna change, none whatsoever. That's who I am. I've been a public servant to this community and to this state.
All right, we have Mr. Marion, then we have Miko, then we have the gentleman from Carolina Farm Trust.
Everyone's talking about the community. I have a sign on my street, adopt a community. Prior to COVID, I dealt with DOT, they changed the policy because of me. Traffic calming, I got that done. Waste management, Riley Jameson, they cleaned the street when I called. Parks and Rec took care of the Reed Creek extension that had been neglected for years. Couldn't even see the creek. Based on your statements about community, what should I do as a citizen when I've shared all this information, been on the news in my driveway, and not one city official, other than Pat Coughlin, has come to look into what I'm doing? What should I do based on your experience and your conversation about community? Because
thank you, Ms. Marion.
I'm lost.
You should invite them out, let them know, invite them there, and see if they deny that or they don't show up, because that's what I used to do.
They didn't show up. They haven't.
Well, let me say this to you. I commend you for what you've done, because that's how it gets done.
Check my emails. They haven't.
That's how it gets done.
Ms. Marion, you know we don't go back and forth.
I understand, man.
All right. Ms. Brown.
It's your vote, exercise your vote differently. If what you're doing is not working, vote differently. Your vote is your power. Use it in a different way. Stop voting the same way. Vote differently. Your power is behind those polls. If you've invited people out and they're not showing up, stop voting the same way. I think that you're very passionate about what you do. Give someone else a try. What you're doing isn't working. Give someone else a try.
All right, Carlene, Ms. I'm so sorry.
Okay, thank you, good morning. I'm a little disappointed, and when you get my age, you can say this. We've asked a lot of questions this morning, but one of the things, I know, what's that, Stratford, Richardson, they're having issues. They're talking about closing. You don't have a grocery store. Now, I can't talk about that side of town, because the side I live on is just as bad. We've been neglected, the east, the west. I really haven't heard any questions. What I want to know from you, what is your vision? What is an economic driver that you would be working on for your side of town?
It's your turn, Mr. Turner.
Well, let me start out by telling you, let me start out by saying this. You're absolutely correct. But the new west side that you see today, that was God and Warren and the staff and the city folk. I did that. I drove and I laid that foundation. I laid the blueprints for most of the progress that you've seen on the west side. And when I tried to bring Food Line to a particular location on West Boulevard, the leaders of that side fought against that. And when you push against someone that's saying it really didn't fit their model, but we willing to try, they're gonna give up. If you don't want them, they're not gonna come. So we didn't get the Food Line. And still today, there are plans on and desiring to have a grocery store on West Boulevard corridor. But I brought the Walmart, and they resisted that. And there's some people here that work for the city of Charlotte that may well know that. I fought for that. They told me it couldn't happen. They told me it couldn't happen. So we have to be careful, even in our communities, who we choose to lead us in our communities.
Ms. Brown.
Thank you so much for that question. You're highly respected. I have something that you wrote I want to read. Some of you have been elected, appointed, hired on leaders to represent, advocate for the citizens of Charlotte-Mecklenburg community. As of today, over half of African American community is unemployed or underemployed. Our community is over-policed. We are disproportionately impoverished, in poverty. Dropout rate is an all-time high. We live in food deserts. Our health outcomes are dismissal. We are unassured and undermined. I can't read everything, so I know where you're coming from, but the leaders that we have in place are not doing what we need to do to make sure that we're effective in our community. It doesn't matter what plan you put forth. It takes 5 + 1. But you can best believe if anybody under the sound of my voice is listening for District 3, it will be that one vote that's gonna go in favor of making sure that we have economic mobility, racial equity, and that our people are not left behind. That's all I know.
All right, let me do this. I should have did this at 9:45 in respect of everyone's time. The forum was supposed to end. Mr. Turner does have to leave. He has a prior obligation, but I will allow him before he leaves to make a closing remark. So let me ask, we got one, now if you gotta leave, you gotta leave, but we have one more question.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Carolina Farm Trust, our mission, like I said, is to decentralize the food system and build a regional resilient food system, which means that operate self-sufficient. On the west side, Food Line, great try. I look as far as Three Sisters, other trying to build their own grocery stores. What would you guys do to fight food insecurity and also nonprofits and other organizations that's trying to build that regional resilient food system and food deserts?
It's her turn.
Okay.
We'll do what we say we'll do.
So Chris, thank you so much. In respect for time, I just like to say that it's gonna go back to that gentleman question that he had, how we can allocate funds to you to make sure that what you're doing, we can continue to support you in that. I know that, you know, you have to make sure that when we're speaking on that budget, that's $3.5 billion, that we're allocating the resources to the correct place. I'm gonna be a huge advocate for the things that are working, to keep those things there, and the things that are not working to get rid of them. I mean, I'm gonna be a disruptor. That's just all it's gonna be.
All right, Mr. Turner.
It seems that you've already started and have an understanding of what it is that you want to accomplish. My concern is, do we have everybody at the table that understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish? So that table is what I would prepare. I would prepare a table where you can come and put the people there that needs to hear it, that can make that difference and assist you in accomplishing what we're trying to do. You can't do that if you don't know how to collaborate. You can't do that if you don't know who to go to. So that is a responsibility as your elected officials, okay? There's no magic wand in this. There's no magic wand, and some of these things does not fall directly under the authority or the power of the city council. But persuasion, being able to have the ability to collaborate and to communicate and know where to go get the resources at. That's what I would do.
All right, Mr. Chen, just go ahead and keep the mic on and finish your closing statement. I know you have to go, so.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for this opportunity. Unfortunately, I do have to go. I wasn't, in fact, I changed my schedule to make this appointment this morning. So what I want you to know is this. If you lived in Charlotte in the last 30 years, you've seen major change and transformation coming throughout our city. Some good, some not so good. But as we continue to grow and strive to want to be one of the top cities in this country, there are things that comes along with that. Growing pain, economics, crime, traffic, smart, and the quality of those basic services. We are thinning ourselves out. We complain about the garbage don't get picked up on time. The streets are dirty. We talk about these things, but that comes with growth. And we have to grow our fundamentals, such as those services. We talk about paying our employees a certain income, a living wage. We have to address those matters. as the city grows, so shall those services grow. We have to, in order to provide you those services, but we have outpaced ourselves. For some reason, we've gotten off track, and it really bothers me because I was there and saw the plans and know the plans. It seems like we've taken a different direction. We want to build it, and then we want to try to outfit it later. That's too late. When you put it out there, you can't take it back. You have to put the infrastructure in there. And that just not includes streets, sewer, water, and sidewalks. We're talking about the people that's going to make it happen. Our sanitation department needs help. They need more workers. They need better working conditions. I get that. But those things have to be planned as we move forward. I used to get my garbage picked up on Thursday. I could guarantee you, if I didn't have my rollout out there by 7:30, 8 o'clock, they will be gone. Today, they have to come to my neighborhood and drive all the way back out to Concord, to the dump, to come back with that same truck to try to do what they used to do with one truck. That's because of the massive growth that has happened. We have not planned for it properly. And then in order to understand, even when it comes down to law enforcement, if you dial 911, and we know comedians have made jokes about it, people have made jokes about it, now we're living in the reality of it. How many of y'all have ever been put on hold on 911? Come on, seriously. So thank God you have not had to call them, because I've experienced it, okay? Because there need staffing. And our city has grown beyond its boundaries, the ability to pay the staff. We have to move and grow those things with them. So I would tell you this, that we're in dire need of different leadership. We're in dire need of someone that's going to be an advocate for the things that our city must have in order for us to be that great city. And that affects our quality of life in every aspect. We can no longer ignore those things and say we're a great city. We have to prove it and show it every day. And that means everybody should feel that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Man, I thought you was in a hurry. We're going to finish with a closing statement from Ms. Tiawana Brown.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to me today. It takes a lot of water when I'm speaking. You heard it from Mr. Turner. We need different leadership. I'm that different. When you walk into city council meetings and it's in turmoil and they're fighting and they're arguing with one another and they can't get along and they can't come together on one common goal. When you talk about different leadership, you talk about someone that's transparent, that write their own story. When you talk about leadership, you talk about someone that's familiar with complex budgets, that's connected to the community. You talk about someone that's already working on the housing issue with having 3 safe homes in the making for women that are displaced, that are coming home, that are forgot about. When you talk about a community, you talk about a community of love. You talk about a community that's transparent, that want West Side to look like what it looks like down in Ardrey. We know that it takes 5 + 1 to make that happen. I'm not gonna sit up here and make any false promises to you. That's not who I am. That's not who I've ever been. But what I am gonna promise to each and every one of you, under the sound of my voice, that if you vote for Tiawana Brown, when you cast your votes, by September the 9th for early voting, and September the 9th for early voting, and September the 12th, you're gonna get a leadership that's transparent, that's bold, that's ready to lead, that have her own voice. I'm gonna tell you that sometimes experience is a good teacher, but it's not always the best candidate. If you're looking for a new, innovative, and responsible and dedicated to the cause, vote Tiawana Brown, Charlotte City Council, District 3. Thank you.
Please give a thank you. A round of applause for our 2 candidates. Man, what a forum today. We had a spirited good time. It is way after 10 o'clock. We were supposed to be out of this room maybe 17 minutes ago. However, thank you all for coming. I do want to recognize any elected officials we have. And if you have announcements, please send them to sjohnston@tuesdayforumcharlotte.org.
Good morning, Tuesday Morning Forum. Stephanie Sneed, Vice Chair of Board of Education, elected by the members of District 4. Stay tuned. We are developing our goals and guardrails right now for our next accomplishments that our students should know and be able to do. We're going to need your input. So more to come with that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all that you do in your service.
And it's a brave move to come on the second day of school, 'cause I know one and a half, yes.
I've heard a lot about food deserts and people needing help. My church, Silver Mount Baptist Church, is located at 501 West Airwood Road. We've been doing this for years. We give out over 1 million pounds of food every year. Our hours are Tuesday and Wednesdays between the hours of 8 and 1. And on Wednesdays, it's 9 to 1. We change it up an hour. You're more than welcome. Just come down to 501 West Airwood Road, Silver Mount Baptist Church, and we provide you with food, quality of food. You don't have to pay for it. We don't ask who you are and how many people in your family. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes today's Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. Please come back where we will have another dynamic guest next Tuesday. Our house band is here. Mr. Thomas, play us out. Districts 4 and 5 are next week. Districts 4 and 5.